If you're struggling with the sled push in HYROX, there's a good chance that your positioning and your drive mechanics are off. Today I'm going to break down how to utilize the underhand method and how to get full extension of your hip, your knee, and your ankle to push this sled more effectively and more efficiently. First, let's talk about hand position. Unlike the high push, which is up here on the top of the post, so we're going to be pushing with our chest, our shoulders, our triceps, and our quads, a little bit of our calves. We want to utilize an underhand grip. So it's going to be using the inside of the forearms here. I'm going to wrap my forearms kind of around these posts. This is going to allow me to get a little bit lower onto the sled, a little bit more intimate with the sled. I'm going to take my hands, I'm going to wrap them around the post as well to give me a little bit more grip. Then I'm going to lean forward almost as far as I can. I'm going to keep my chest high and I'm going to look forward. This allows me to utilize my glutes and my hamstrings, my posterior chain. Now, I'm still keeping a nice neutral back, but I do have this nice forward lean that's going to give me a lot more leverage when pushing the sled, a lot more power. Now we're going to hop into body position and drive angle. So I want to keep my torso nice and low here, but not rounded. I want to make sure that my core is braced, my back is nice and neutral. It's not hunched over, but I'm also not in back extension either. Got this nice neutral back, forward lean. I am driving through the sled. I'm not driving into it, I'm driving through it and creating power with every step. Now we're going to jump into something that's often overlooked with the sled push, and this is full extension of the hip, the knee, and the ankle. Oftentimes I see people really intimate with this sled, but they're taking these short, choppy steps. We don't want that. We want to make sure that we're extending at the hips, we're pushing the hips forward through the sled, so we're producing a maximum amount of force. We also want to extend at the knee as well, get a full extension there to push and drive the sled forward. And we don't want to be just contacting the ground with our heel or midfoot here in our step and taking, again, those short, choppy steps. We want to make sure that we're rolling through the foot onto the toe, getting that full extension of the foot and the ankle joint as well. So looks something a little bit like this. I'm going to push my hips forward. I'm going to drive with my knee. And I'm on my toe. So hips forward, drive with the knee on the toe. Just like that. A few things that we want to avoid when pushing the sled here. A couple I've already hit on. One being those choppy steps. We don't want to take short, choppy steps. We want to maximize the efficiency of each step that we do take. Second, we want to make sure that our chest is nice and tall when we're pushing through the sled to do exactly that. We don't want to push into the sled. We don't want to dig it into the ground. We want to push through it and drive it forward to that next turnaround point. Number three being that we don't want to get too low on the sled. We don't want to be all the way up here like in a high sled push, but we don't want to be all the way down here at the bottom of the sled, crunched into our legs here. This is going to kill our momentum. It's not going to allow us to drive through every step. So you have to dial in what feels just about right for you. It's going to be different for everybody, depending on how tall you are, how long your legs are, all that good stuff. I do have one more tip for you, but before we get into that, if you're looking for a structured HYROX training program that's going to help you take your performance to the next level, see the details in the description below. All right, on to that last and final tip. Something that a lot of people struggle with is knowing when and where to take their break during the sled push, each leg of it. Personally, this is what I use. I will go all the way to the end of the runway. I'll take a little bit longer of a break there rather than stopping and then having to regain my momentum midway through the runway. I know that I'm already going to have to stop once I get to the end, change positions, go around to the other side of the sled and start pushing again. So maximize the time that you do have on the sled. Now, I will say that if you are going to take a break midway through the runway, each leg, I'll say don't get off of the sled. Stay on the sled, stay in this position, catch your breath, rather than walking away and then having to reposition yourself. That's just going to waste more time. All right, so let's recap what we learned today. Number one thing, we want to use an underhand grip. We want to get nice and intimate with this sled. We want to push all the way through and get our body nice and close. We want to drive with our hips, our knees, and our ankles. We want to keep our chest nice and tall and looking forward. We want to drive with the posterior chain. We're not going to take rest in between the turnaround points. And if we do, then we're going to stay on the sled to minimize the time that we're not pushing, minimize that sled push time. This is going to allow us to lower our overall time in the sled push, and then ultimately lower our overall finishing time in the HYROX race as well. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this breakdown of how to be more efficient at the sled push in HYROX. If you did, please like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, all that jazz. You get the picture. It could really help me out, and then I could put more content like this out for you to help you achieve your goals at HYROX. All right, see you in the next one.